Good morning, Bix Weir, Road to Ruta, Bix Weir, Road to Ruta.com. It's your morning horn of Z's, your sip of coffee. I want you back where you belong. Remember that song? I want you back where you belong. BAKKT is up and running. Fanfare, cryptos are saved. I like what's happening right now. There's no volume. No volume is good. No volume means there's a potential for it not to be a fraud. Let's take a look at this article. Trading on BAKKT breaks $250,000. $250,000. BAKKT launches physically settled Bitcoin futures today, providing institutional investors with a new way to bet on expected price of Bitcoin. You notice it doesn't say new way to buy Bitcoin. It says a new way to bet on the expected price of Bitcoin in the near term. And already the amount of Bitcoin being traded on the exchange has reached $250,000. Dude, Wall Street sneezes and farts $250,000 every millisecond. BAKKT was launched by the Intercontinental Exchange, the United States exchange group that owns the New York Stock Exchange. By offering physically settled futures, this means traders make their bets and receive their winnings in Bitcoin rather than the US dollar equivalent. This is important for Bitcoin traders because it helps to suck up Bitcoin into the market, reducing the available supply and helping to put upwards pressure on the price. Yeah, if that was true, that's awesome. So far, 28 Bitcoins have traded on the exchange worth $280,000. The first trade was made when Bitcoin was at $10,115 and has since dropped to $9,990. Shortly after the launch, only 18 Bitcoins had been traded. But within a few hours, it had jumped to 26 Bitcoins. We're talking about nothing. A whole lot of nothing. And I like that. You know what that means? That means whoever's selling their Bitcoin, who obviously is not in their right mind, who is selling it? And why would they? It's insane. But you know, the small amount of orders means this might be the real thing. I don't know yet. But those of you who were in the silver market for as long as I have, back in 2006, they announced something called the SLV. And it was a silver ETF that was going to be backed by physical silver. So the entire global stock market, industrial money would get into silver and it would blow the price off silver. You guys remember that? Those of you old enough? Here's what happened. Look at that. Since the introduction in May 2006, silver has done nothing. Is flat. So for 13 years after this gigantic thing that opened it up to the industrial investors, what was it? It was a tool of manipulation. Not the biggest tool. That's the exchanges, the COMEX and the LBMA, as we've found out from JP Morgan getting busted. And oh, by the way, the custodian of SLV that has 300 million silver ounces, physical silver ounces, the custodian is none other than the same company that's being brought up on RICO charges for rigging the silver price, JP Morgan. Oh, by the way. So, yes, this is what happens when you financialize a commodity, a hard asset, the trading. You get 13 years of nothing because they can control the price with the derivatives. Now, mind you, with BAKKT seeing no volume at all, I kind of like that. Maybe we have something here. What's going to happen when everybody tries to get in? What's going to happen when the next bull run hits? Is everybody going to run into the exchange and all of a sudden the exchange has to shut down trading because things got too crazy because $1 million worth of Bitcoin was traded and somebody's trying to pull it off the exchange? It's early. It's going to get crazy. It's weird. Who knows what the hell's going to happen? I kind of have an idea. I think if these exchanges break down, meaning the oil exchange, the COMEX, the U.S. stock market, BAKKT, all that, if all that, we have problems, we're going to have to introduce something into either scrap the whole market entirely or introduce a fix. Now, what cryptocurrency, what token, what software platform was created to fix the problem of rehypothecation, of high-frequency trading on exchanges. That would be Veritasium. The solution was made before the problem was seen. It's kind of like Bitcoin, Satoshi's Bitcoin. You know, those of us in gold and silver knew there was a problem. The vast majority of humanity didn't know there was a problem. Satoshi invented a solution before the problem was seen by most people. The solution to peer-to-peer transactions. We needed a new form of money, a decentralized form of money, and that was invented. Veritasium Reggie has invented a solution before the problem was known by people. I'm just saying, hey, SEC, you're not long for this world because Veritasium would take you out. It's a mathematical certainty. You can't mess with peer-to-peer transactions on the blockchain because all the data is there. Cliff High's data has the U.S. government, I think all governments, going to Veritasium and saying, help us. We have a problem. It has become known to humanity, which obviously I think we're going to see these problems in stark daylight. And they go say, hey, we want to implement Veritasium into our exchanges because they are corrupt and nobody trusts them. So what do you do with no trust? You introduce the blockchain. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't know. There are signs. If you believe in the woo-woo stuff, there are signs. Go over and join Crypto Viewing and check out their Veritasium analysis. Go check it out. Those guys, they tap into something that you wouldn't believe. Check it out. I'm just saying. All right. So, where does that leave us right now with cryptos? Nothing exciting happening. Same old, same old. Plotting right along. So BAKKT has not blown off the doors. As a matter of fact, they're trading basically zero volume. Will that change? Maybe one day. Probably when the cryptos start running up, you're going to see BAKKT volume go crazy, as in $1 million in a day. $10 million in a day. And in Bitcoin, when it trades the real thing, that's a hell of a lot. When you trade the fake thing, like on the exchanges right now, $12.7 billion traded in Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. 12.7 billion. It is a farce. These exchanges are a joke. So there you have it. All right, let's say it's Monday, so let's talk about what's going on. Those of you who have been following my work know the criminality within the European banks is even bigger than the U.S. banks. Well, kind of. They're similar. But they have less rules, so it got bad. Money laundering at Danske Bank with Deutsche Bank was horrific. Hundreds of billions of dollars got money laundered. Compare that to Bitcoin. It's ridiculous that they even bring it up. And Danske Bank and Deutsche Bank have to go through the European Central Bank and the regulators and the boards of directors and all that shit. And still, they money launder hundreds of billions of dollars. So now, there's a great article on Zero Hedge. Actually, it's by Mike Shedlock of Mishtalk. Really smart guy. They're talking about negative interest rates. What's going on with these negative interest rates? If they had negative interest rates in the United States, what would you do? If you had money in a bank, would you leave it in the bank or would you buy a safe and bring it home? You would buy a safe and bring it home, obviously. Negative interest rates will not happen in the United States. I'm just saying. But here's something. Last week, Denmark's central bank cut its deposit rate to negative 0.75%. Banks will pass this on to large customers. Basically, if a bank holds money in the central bank, they're going to charge them for that. 0.75%. Please consider Denmark's Danske Bank lowers its negative interest rates on deposits. So Denmark's number 2 bank, besides Danske Bank, a bank called Jyske Bank, said they're going to start charging the large depositors. Danske Bank said Friday people with more than $110,000 in their bank accounts will be charged more for their deposits as it seeks to pass on some of the costs of recent rate cuts by the European and Danish central bank. Danske Bank, Denmark's second largest bank, said it would introduce a negative interest rate of 0.75% for all corporate deposits and for corporate private clients depositing more than 750,000 Danish crowns, about $110,000, starting December 1st. Last week, Denmark's central bank cut its key deposit rate to minus 0.75%, a record low among developed countries. It is a lot of money. This is a quote. It is a lot of money, and we have to pass on part of this bill to our customers, he said. I don't hope that we will have to go lower, but I don't dare to promise that. Denmark's largest bank, Danske Bank, said it had no plans to introduce negative interest rates, which means it's going to lose money. Switzerland's USB has said it will impose a negative interest rate of 0.75% on clients who deposit more than 2 million Swiss francs. Simple question. If you live in Denmark and have a bank account in excess of $100,000 or so, why would you have it in Danske Bank, which charges you 0.75%, while Danske Bank, the country's largest bank, doesn't? There are two possibilities. One, there's something seriously wrong at Danske Bank and people don't trust it. And number two, Danske Bank welcomes the deposits and can do something with the money, but if so, at what risk? Why isn't Danske Bank lowering it to at least what the central bank charges them? Because they are desperate for money right now. They will do anything for short-term money. And Danske Bank, who just started charging their customers, of course, their company stock rose 5%. Because they're earning money on lending money, and they're earning money, or at least breaking even, on deposits. It is insane out there. Insane. Negative interest rates destroy banks. I hung out with a banker this weekend. Negative interest rates are destroying banks. Low interest rates like this, bankers hate it. Hate it. They're being gutted by their own central banks. Gutted. Now on to the more interesting stuff. You want to know what's going on behind the scenes? It is a battle for the derivative market, and it's happening in oil. Here's the latest. Oil pumps then dumps after conflicting reports over Saudi recovery. First of all, the Saudi oil refining is, you cannot fix things in a week. It takes a week just to do the testing. And not to mention, you have to fix all the pieces and parts that are not, they're all custom made for this facility. It's going to take months. It's not going to take weeks. But they keep talking. Blah, 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 blah. Why are they talking? Because they're trying to control the price of oil on the markets. They don't want people saying, oh my God, this is a black swan event. They don't want the price of oil to jump to $300, $400, $500. What would that do to the economic system? What would that do to the derivative market? Oil pumps then dumps after conflicting reports over Saudi recovery. Crude futures gapped dramatically higher at the open overnight. WTI back above $59 after Wall Street Journal headlines over the weekend said Saudi Arabia's recovery could take 8 months rather than weeks. They'd be lucky to get it done at 8 months. I've been to oil refineries. We used to finance those. Things like it. This is not like, oh, yeah, here's a tank and start it up again. This one has a hole in it. Let's take the other one out and let's put a new one in. You can't do that. It takes months, if not years, to fix something like that. And then to test everything. And then find out, oh, the explosion knocked off this tiny piece over here. And by the way, if we start this thing up, it's going to blow up because this little tiny valve got hit by the explosion. Come on, people. We got to think harder. This is a fraud. Somebody's trying to keep the oil prices in check. And why? Because it'll set off the derivative bomb. But prices are tumbling this morning following Reuters reports denying the news, claiming that Aramco will succeed in restoring its lost production by the end of this month. I love that. I love Reuters. I love that. Way to put your neck out there for the next 7 days. Because if you are wrong, you are rigging the price of oil and you should be investigated. If you are wrong. Reuters, oh no, everything's fine. They only have 7 days to prove that out. It is insane. Everybody should hold whatever reporter it is that said, oh, this is not happening. Reuters reports denying this news. You've got an oil denier. Any engineer who's worked on an oil refining facility will tell you just to test it, it will take more than a couple weeks. Why? Because if you start it up and you blow up the world, your liability is billions of dollars. But that's not, they don't even have the parts. All the parts have to be custom made. It is insane what's going on right now. Don't believe the bullshit. Because that's what it is, bullshit. And if you were on the private road on Friday, you know. I'm just saying. Read that Friday road trip again. Read the Friday road trip again. Go to roadtoroto.com right here. Friday road trip, 920. Read that again. Ruda's Black Tears. And all the things that are going on. It's not just Saudi Arabia. This was planned. Anyway, that's where we are right now. Join the Road to Ruda. It's Bix Weir, roadtoroto.com. I'll talk to you later.